Guys, I cannot believe it is now time for me to make my favourite movies of 2018 video. In 2017 we got films such as Logan, The Disaster Artist, Blade Runner 2049, Split. Was 2018 any better? Not really as much. Don't get me wrong though, there were some great films that came out this year, but none that really matched the levels of Logan or The Disaster Artist from last year. That didn't stop me from having some great moments in the cinema, however. That's right folks, it is now time for my official 2018 movie countdown. This is my 4th year doing this, and as per usual, I'm going to be following the same rules as I do every single year. I will be ranking these movies based on how much fun I had watching them in the cinema. I haven't had the opportunity to see every single one that came out in 2018. There will be a brief list in the description below for all the ones I wasn't able to watch. And also again, I am doing these based on release dates in the United Kingdom. If it came out over here in 2018, then it counts. Also, please bear in mind that this is just my list. I know I'm going to have some disagreements with people in the comments section or just general people watching this video, but you know what? I'm sure it'll be fine though. I mean, I'm only expressing my opinion on the internet. What's the worst that could possibly happen? So folks, it is time for me to begin my favourite films of 2018. Let's start off with number 10. Number 10. I, Tonya. I, Tonya was such a big surprise for me at first because I had only ever heard of Tonya Harding in myth and legend in the first place. I didn't really know that much about the incident that made her so famous, or rather infamous, in the first place. Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan were brilliant in their roles, and it was really nice to see a very different kind of rise and fall story, as well as seeing the incidents from real life being reenacted. If there is one thing I've learned from this, it's that America enjoys having a figure that it can both love and hate at the exact same time. Number 9. BlacKkKlansman. BlacKkKlansman is a film that is not afraid to shy away from sensitive topics. I mean, of course, this movie is going to be discussing those kinds of things, given that it's about a black police officer infiltrating the KKK in the early 1970s. This movie mixes together comedy and extremely dark and sensitive topics brilliantly, and Adam Driver was brilliant in his role, playing the police officer who does actually go undercover in the KKK. John David Washington was perfect for the role as Ron Stallworth, and you can really see how these two characters are being badly affected during their journey to try and expose and take down these hate mongers. Overall, I would say that BlacKkKlansman is a 2-hour-long message to the modern day, and no part of that story said that more than the ending, where it actually does finish in the modern day. It shows that racism has never truly died in America, and with a guy like this in power, the fight will continue for a very long time. Number 8. Game Night. I was planning to put Game Night as my surprise mention for 2018, but then I realised as I was developing the list more that I loved it so much that I actually wanted this in my top 10 list, so here you go. Game Night is a thrill ride from start to finish. It mixes drama with comedy and tension so perfectly that there was not a single moment I disliked. Every single joke was funnier than the last, and that goes for all the scenes as well. There was not a single part of this film that I hated. There were so many twists and turns all over the place, but it really worked, and I usually hate it when that happens in a movie because it makes it so unfunny and unbearable. I was laughing my ass off all the way through the film, and it's so annoying that this has gone pretty much under the radar for a lot of other film reviewers on YouTube. Number 7. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse was a very different kind of superhero movie. I was excited to see it from day one of its announcement. And when I saw this movie in theatres literally last week, I was hooked every single second of the way. The different villains you get to see in the film, especially Kingpin and Doc Ock, and all the other different kinds of Spider characters, including Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man 2099, and Spider-Ham, who I'm only really bringing up because he was voiced by John Mulaney, and I love John Mulaney. The animation was superb all the way, and this actually felt like I was watching a real comic book movie come to life. It was fantastic to watch. Number 6. The Incredibles 2. I did my waiting. 14 years in Azkaban. Was it worth it? You're goddamn right it was. The Incredibles 2 brought back everything that I loved about the original and added so much more. More superheroes, which can lead to more new and exciting characters, a brand new world to set it in, and the great new villain that we got with the Screenslaver. The Incredibles 2 was not afraid to bring back some of the nostalgia that made it good in the first place, but it was also good to see that being blended with the Incredibles 2 modernising itself for the modern age, and that is what made it so good. Number 5. Love, Simon. Out of all of the movies that I've seen this year, none of them hit me on a more emotional and personal level than Love, Simon. The story of a closeted queer teenager who was being forced into silence and no longer being able to handle the pressure hit way too close to home for me. The changes in relationships that Simon has with his friends and his families resemble a lot of problems that many in that community still face today. In the end, this is a story about love and hope, and it shows that those who really do care about you, who want to help you and accept you for who you are, will be there till the very end. And those are the real friends that you need in your life. As a fellow member of the LGBTQ community, this really got to me, and it's the closest I have ever come to crying in a cinema. Love, Simon. Thank you. Number 4. Avengers Infinity War. Come on, you guys knew I had to put this movie in the video. I mean, for goodness sake, I'm sitting in front of a poster of it. What a fantastic way to carry on the MCU storyline. This is the Marvel film we have been waiting for the last 10 years. Building up the characters, the suspense, and the world around them, and tying it all together in this 2.5-hour long brilliant superhero flick. All of the stories from the last 10 years have been building up and they all tie in together, and we get to see the true strengths of Thanos' power. I have never been terrified or even remotely scared in a superhero movie before, but the moment Thanos snapped his fingers in Wakanda, suddenly I was absolutely petrified. My jaw was on the floor by the end, and it was a great way to carry on the Marvel storyline. Number 3. Lady Bird. Lady Bird was one of the first films I saw this year, and it was breathtaking. The story of a teenage girl wanting to do her own thing with her life, but having to evade her strict parents was really interesting to see. Plus, I know a lot of young people who would find that very, very relatable. Lady Bird is a character with a complicated relationship with her family, and that relationship gets even worse after she decides to move to New York just a couple of years after the 9/11 attacks. This is a coming-of-age story that focuses on family, friendship, mental health, and all of the struggles that young people go through in their lives when all they want is independence. Number 2. Isle of Dogs. Isle of Dogs is a terrific stop-motion animation film that reminded me an awful lot of Kubo and the Two Strings. Wes Anderson has done it again, bringing forward terrific characters with some really good voice actors. The Japanese setting was even better, and it was really good at combining the 3 main story arcs. The corruption of Mayor Kobayashi, the search for Spot, and the relationship between Atari and the dogs made for some really emotional scenes. Isle of Dogs is a story about friendship and the hardships of life, and it's a great movie for kids to watch as well. You know what's coming. Every year before I announce my favourite movie of the last 12 months, I always have to go through my honourable mentions. These go for the films that I really liked, but unfortunately I just could not include them on this list. These films include Bohemian Rhapsody, a great biopic in the life of Queen and Freddie Mercury's rise and fall and rise again in the years leading up to the Live Aid concert, as well as Mercury's later struggle in life with AIDS. Not to mention the casting was absolutely top notch, especially with the character of Brian May. Creed 2, a great follow-up to the original that we got 3 years ago. This one delved more into the personal life of Apollo Creed, and it was good to see how the characters' lives were being affected by the world of boxing. Ant-Man and the Wasp, a great new follow-up in the MCU that had brand new characters, villains, and was just as funny the second time round. I loved watching this in the cinema in July. The Hate U Give, a story tying into the real world events as it shows the reality of living as a black teenager in the United States. The drama and the division in the movie led to some really emotional scenes that had me choked up by the end. Ghost Stories, a different and unique horror film that gives different perspectives into the investigator's journey to finding the truth. The stories all tie in really well, and I would have put it on my top 10 list if it weren't for the ending, where they went for one of the oldest cliches in the book, and it was really upsetting. And last but most certainly not least, Coco, an emotional tale of love, family and loss, blended together with Mexican culture. The colour was the best part of this, along with a great soundtrack that made for some terrific moments. If I was to do a top 11 list, Coco would have been my number 11. As per tradition, every year when I finish off my honourable mentions, I want to give out one more shout out to the film that surprised me the most more than any other this year. And that is called my surprise mention. This goes to the movie that I thought was going to be absolutely appalling, but I ended up loving it and having a great time in the cinema. And so, for 2018, my surprise mention is Halloween. Judging from the declining quality of the Halloween film series over time, with the exception of Rob Zombie's 2007 remake, I just thought that this was going to suck. Badly. But nonetheless, I had a great time watching it in the cinemas. Jamie Lee Curtis returns as Laurie Strode, who this time is a mother who is tormented by the events of the past, and she is still not able to recover from it even to this day, 40 years later. Not only is this a horror movie, but it's also a story about family and how, in one quick moment, your whole life can change forever. Halloween was the most surprisingly good movie of 2018, and you know what? It deserves it. We're here, folks. My favourite movie of 2018. The one that made me leave the cinema in shock and awe at how fantastic it was. I saw this earlier on in the year, and nothing was able to top the experience that I had whilst watching it. It is definitely a film that I am going to remember, and that many other people are going to remember for a very, very long time. My favourite movie of 2018 is A Quiet Place. No other film in my life has scared me more than this. The lack of sound in the cinema added to the atmosphere, and it made me feel what was about to come next. The post-apocalyptic world where these noise monsters have taken over was horrifying to see, and it really fit the tagline on the poster. If they hear you, they hunt you. Not only is A Quiet Place the scariest thing I've ever watched, but it's the greatest and most shocking horror movie I have ever seen, and I would highly urge other horror junkies such as myself to go and watch this. And that, my friends, is why A Quiet Place is my favourite movie of 2018. So those were my top 10 favourite films of 2018. I don't think this year was as good as 2017, but hey, I was still able to have a fun time at the cinema nonetheless. I've got my script for the worst movies of 2018 video sorted out. It's right over there, but I'm recording that tomorrow because I've spent so long talking to the camera about this video that my throat is now starting to hurt. Oh, that video is gonna be fun though, just you guys wait. Guys, thank you so much for watching this latest video. As of this recording, it is currently almost 7 PM on New Year's Eve 2018. So I just want to say, I hope you all have a fantastic 2019. I think everyone should just make it their year and do what they possibly can. And I hope you all had a good Christmas as well, or Hanukkah, or whatever religious festival you celebrate. I hope you still had a great time anyway. And so guys, let me know in the comment section below what your favourite movies of the last 12 months were. And other than that, I've been Tartarus Pictures, and I will see you later. Good night.